Let's cut to the chase. In your 20s, you spend most of the time with your bank account empty, bills coming in that you weren't expected. I'm sure that sounds familiar, right? In your 20s, you don't need to be perfect with money, but if you put in place some simple steps and systems, you can help set yourself up for a really good financial future. There are so many things that I wish I'd known when I was in my 20s, and now in my 30s looking back, they were right there, but I just never saw them. So in this video, I'm going to point them out to you. I'm going to go through some of the really key financial steps and decisions that you might make in your 20s that can help you build a better base for the future while still be able to live your life in the moment. If that sounds like something for you, then keep watching. Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Lewis and here we talk about everything to do with personal finance, growing your money and finance education. And as mentioned at the top, today we're going to go into some of the tips about money that I wish I knew when I was in my 20s. Your 20s is a big decade because quite often you move away from being dependent on parents and things like that, living at home to living by yourself. And there's so many things that I know I certainly wasn't prepared for when I went through all of those changes. And hopefully by going through the bits that we're going to go through in today's video, it's just going to help point some of those out to you and highlight them so that you can see them coming in your life and you can hopefully plan for them. Even if you're not in your 20s but you're watching this video, it's still going to be really relevant because there's going to be lots of money and finance tips in here that you might not be making use of in your life at the moment. So hopefully you can take those on board and apply them to your situation and it'll help stretch your money that little bit further as well. But without delaying any longer, let's get into those tips. The first tip might feel like a bit of a counterintuitive one, but it's don't punish yourself for not saving enough money. I spent so much of my 20s, so much time thinking about the savings goal that I needed to reach, the money that I wanted to have in my bank account. But in reality, it's very hard to do this in your 20s. It's likely the point when your salary is at its lowest, plus you're also adjusting to having to pay bills more than you would have done when you lived at home and bits and pieces. So you're spending time adapting to your new situation. So don't punish yourself if you're there, not able to save £300, £400, £500 a month. That's okay. You're going to have plenty of time to do that in the future. In your 20s is also the time, and particularly your early 20s, is when you can really get your money starting to work for you really early through things like investing. We're going to come on to that a bit more detail later in the video. But just don't spend too much time thinking about the money that you should be saving at the moment and setting yourself unrealistic goals. Just think about getting yourself a small cash fund available that's there for outright emergencies if you really need to dig yourself out of a hole in a short space of time. But outside of that, don't focus so much on saving and gathering lots of cash together. Ultimately, it's going to end up sitting there in a bank account, not doing anything for you anyway, and inflation's likely to erode its value over time. So don't spend so much time fixated on that and think about about how you put in the steps for a better financial system that allows you to save for an emergency fund and savings funds later down the line. You could also look to reinvest that money back into yourself as well. In your 20s, it's the perfect opportunity to start upskilling yourself and learning new things or getting better at the things that you do at the moment. So spend some time kind of thinking about the skills that you have, looking at the job that you do at the moment and think, can you take some of that spare money that you might be putting into savings and can you reinvest it back into yourself to do courses, to get extra qualifications, to just spending extra hours or getting better equipment doing what you're doing to allow you to do it better or do more of it. Have a think about how you can open up those doors because that can lead you to extra money through side hustles and things like that you can then go on to build a savings buffer and emergency fund with later down the line. And that leads us nicely on to our second tip, which is turning active income into passive income. As I've just mentioned at the end of the first tip, think about how you can invest money into yourself to make your time and your effort go further. You might be doing a job at the moment that actually has transferable skills. That could be anything from design work, marketing work, manual labour work. There's so many different things out there that if you're doing it for a company, the likelihood is that there's also somebody out there that wants it from a freelance perspective and you to be able to just work on that yourself. So take the skills that you've got either through qualifications that you've already got or the job that you're doing at the moment, and look to see how you can transfer them and build yourself a side hustle that brings you in frequent income from the skills that you already have. It's such an easy way and it's so easily overlooked. There were certainly things that I could have done in my 20s if I look back now and think how I could have utilised the skills that I was learning back then to help make me some extra money at the time. The best way to do this is if you can create yourself something that you only have to do once, but that you can sell multiple times. You see lots of people doing this on platforms like Etsy, selling budget spreadsheets or selling design templates or travel planners or all of these sorts of things that they just design once and then pop on the app, and then they're selling it forevermore. So every time someone buys it, it's just passive income for them because they've not had to invest any more time. So have a think about if there's anything in your life that you can turn into extra income on the side for you. And if you only have to do it once and can consistently generate income from it, then that's even better because you're unlocking the maximum potential of passive income. The goal isn't to burn yourself out, and that's so important. You're in your 20s and you're still finding your feet in the working world. You don't want to burn yourself out at such a young age, but what this is aimed at doing is trying to allow your income to not be capped by your salary, so that you may have a day job where your money is being paid into you, but you also open up doors to bring extra money in on the side. If you can do that, then moving through the next stages and also going on to build a really promising financial future is going to be much more straightforward. Tip number 3, a mortgage isn't everything. Throughout my 20s, I had one sole financial aim, if I actually think back, and that was that I wanted to own a home, which is a great aspiration to have. There's no question that owning a home is a great aspiration to have, but putting everything else aside just to achieve that one financial goal feels like a mistake now when I think back about it. And if you reverse the psychology on that thought process, throughout my 20s, my entire financial goal was to take on a gigantic debt, because that's what you do when you own a home. You take, unless you're in a very fortunate position that you're able to buy your home outright, which hardly anybody is in that position, you're taking on a mortgage, and that mortgage means that not only are you taking on debt for the home that you own, you're also then going to be paying interest for a very long period of time afterwards, which ultimately means that you'll end up paying more money back than your house is actually worth. And when I think back about that now, everything I did, I geared all of my decisions towards being able to own that home and being able to have a deposit big enough to own a home. Owning a home is not a bad thing. We own this home that I'm in now, and I'm so glad that we do own a home. But putting everything else to one side like I did in my 20s just to be in this position feels like it probably wasn't the right balance. Instead, I wish I'd have taken some of that money to start investing earlier, which we'll come on to, spend a bit more time focusing on building an emergency fund, investing a bit more money in myself, rather than putting all of it towards just being able to have a deposit for a home. Because if you do some of those things I just mentioned early in your 20s, then you're going to be able to catch up quite quickly to be able to save up your deposit to buy your home later down the line. If I'd have focused on some of those things earlier in my 20s, I think maybe I'd have been maybe a couple of years behind on owning my home, and we bought this house just like a year and a half ago. So I would nearly be coming around to the point of owning this home anyway, but I'd have had a better financial system set up for myself coming into it. Instead, I've bought this home, then I've gone and set up all of my financial system. So it's just something to really think about, is that owning a home is great, but should it really be your number one objective in your 20s, or should it just be a part of your wider financial system and setting yourself up for your financial future in complete totality? If you're enjoying this video so far and you like some of the tips that you've heard in here, and hopefully they're going to help your financial system, then make sure you give this video a like and also subscribe to the channel, because subscribing means you're going to get served lots more content from me around how to grow your money, pensions, personal finance, all of those things that help you create a better financial system for yourself. Hopefully I'm going to be doing videos, or have done videos on, that will cover those topics for you. So yeah, just subscribe to the channel and you'll get served some of those videos. But now let's get back into the tips. Tip number 4 is opening an investing account early. I've mentioned this a couple of times already throughout the video, and this is probably the number one thing that if I could turn back time, I would go and open a stocks and shares ISA much earlier than I did in my life. As I mentioned on the previous point, I spent most of my 20s thinking about how do I save enough money to be able to have a deposit to own a home. But if I could go back, I would completely re-engineer that mindset, and actually focusing on investing would have been my number one priority, because over time, investing and compounding can have a massive impact on your overall financial position when you come round to retire, or if you're using your investments for something else in your life. The longer you're doing it, the bigger and larger sum of money you have a chance of having. So if I just turned back the dial and opened up a stocks and shares ISA 5, 6, maybe 7 years earlier, and opened one when I started work, it will have already been having a big impact on the number that I currently have invested and the number that I could potentially have in the future, which then impacts when I'm able to retire. For anyone that's watched some of my other videos, you'll know that early retirement is personally my biggest objective. So actually, if I think back now, that would have been the number one thing that would have unlocked my potential to be able to do that. If you want to know exactly how to get into investing, how to get yourself set up, I've actually done a separate video on this, so I'll link that down in the description, which will talk you through exactly how to get started, what accounts you should be looking for. But yeah, if I were to be able to go back in time, certainly opening up an investing account would have been the number one priority. By starting investing early as well, it also teaches you some really good habits about money, about how to be patient, how to plan for your future for the long term, and also how to stop focusing on just short-term spending. So there's some real pro kind of things that I wish that which I have learned now, but I wish I'd have learned earlier in my 20s, because they're also transferable to other areas of my life and other tips that we'll go through in this video. So yeah, if you're watching this video now, you're in your 20s, you haven't got yourself an investing account, a stocks and shares ISA in particular, then certainly give that some thought and look to get one open. I should flag at this point that nothing in this video is financial advice. It's all just kind of experience that I've been through myself. So I'm just kind of offering the information up. It's completely down to you what you decide to do. If you do decide to open up an investing account, there is of course a risk that your money can go up as well as go down. So just make sure you're considering that before making any decisions. Tip number 5, a pension is actually very important. I fell completely foul of this in my 20s and did not give my pension enough time or thought to think about what it means for my financial future. If you just break down a pension for a minute and let's break it down sort of in general, somebody's life into kind of sections. You've got your first section of your life, let's call it your first quarter, where you're growing up, you're living at home with your parents, you're not financially independent yourself. That's kind of the first quarter, and probably watching this video might be the phase that you're coming out of now as you've got a job, you're moving out, etc. You're setting up your own base. You've then got the middle half where you're working, you're building your career, you own a home, you start a family, you've got an income coming in from a job that you are doing at some point throughout all of that time. Then you get to the final stage where you need an income, but your income is not coming from your family, your parents when you were in your first quarter, and it's not coming from your job when you were in the middle 2 quarters, the middle half. So you need an income in that final quarter. That is where your pension comes in. I didn't think of it in this way. I thought of a pension when I started out working as, oh, that's annoying. When I would see it on my payslip, there's money disappearing out of my account and going into something that I don't really know too much about and I haven't spent enough time thinking about. And I did a finance degree as well, and even my mindset towards it was like that. But as time has gone on, I've spent a lot of time working out what my pension means, understanding it. Now I'm fully across how much money I need to have in my pension, what my goals are. And I would encourage you to start this really early, because I wish I'd started it really early. Focusing on your pension can have a massive impact on the financial position you find yourself in later in life. So sit down and work out you don't need to necessarily know when you want to retire, because I appreciate you're only just starting out in your working life, but have a think about the amount of money and the lifestyle that you might want in your retirement, because then you can start to work back and start to think about, okay, well, how much money do I need to have in my pension? People underestimate how much money you need to actually be able to retire. The state pension isn't very much and isn't enough to be able to live off. So you're going to need an extra form of income to help supplement that and make sure you can live the life that you want to lead. Think of your pension as just delayed income. And particularly if you're in a salary sacrifice scheme or something like that through your job, you're not paying tax on that money as it's going into your pension. So think of it as just a delayed income that just helps top you up in retirement to make sure you're able to do everything that you want to do. If you want more details on pensions, I've done a whole separate video on those as well. So I'll link that down in the description and make sure you go and check it out and work out how to get in control of your pension. Tip number 6 is embracing the money mindset. This one's a little bit more of a step back. It's not necessarily something direct that you can do with actual money. It's about thinking about how you use money. Money isn't just numbers on a screen. It's a mindset. It's about how you think about the process of money coming in, money going out, and using that to build yourself a better financial future. If you obsess over counting how many coffees you have or buying the cheapest version of every single thing there is out there, sure, you're going to save yourself a little bit of money, but you're not necessarily going to get the utility value from those things. You're going to not enjoy your time so much now. And it's likely to lead to a point where you're going to have money in the future, but because of the frugality you've lived throughout your life, you're going to struggle to spend it. And then what's the point of going through all of that journey to get that lump sum of money if you then don't know how to spend it and how to use it when the time comes? So that's why thinking about the money mindset is really important. Really mapping out in your brain and thinking about what you want your money journey to look like, from saving and building your financial empire now to what you're going to spend it on and how you're going to live your life to the full when you start on the other side of you've scaled the mountain, then you're on the way down the other side. How are you going to use that money to really get the most out of it and reward yourself for all the time and effort that you've put into building it? And that's really important. One tip that I would give you to take away from this video, outside of the general tips, one action you could take is just commit to reading a financial book every 6 to 12 months. You don't need to sit there and read endless books on loop all the time, but just give yourself and pick a particular financial topic that you want to read a book about to just help educate yourself and give you a little bit more of a wider horizon and bigger perspective on how that can impact your financial system, how it relates to your life in particular. All the time you're educating yourself about money, you're going to find better ways to use it in your system and better ways to get more out of your money when it comes to spending it. Tip number 7 is don't lifestyle creep. In your 20s, you're likely to be probably at the point where you progress the most quickly through your career. And that means that tends to come with pay rises and different varying amounts of money that you've got coming in each month. It's really important when you start to see this happen in your 20s that you don't allow your lifestyle to creep with the extra amount of money you've got coming in. What I mean by that is, as more money you've got coming into your bank account, you spend more of it. So if you were saving, you had £2,000 a month coming in, let's say, and at the end of it you saved £100, but instead your pay then went up and you were actually earning £2,500 a month, but still at the end of the month you're only saving £100, that's lifestyle creep. You've managed to expand in that month between getting paid. You're finding a way to spend extra £500 that you've got coming in so that you're still only putting the same amount of money towards your financial future. Instead, when your salary starts to grow over time and as you change and move through jobs, you should be thinking about how much of my current life am I happy keeping exactly as it is. Rather than going out and spending more monies on eating out or buying more clothes. Sure, you still need to do those things and they're really important to make sure you're getting everything you want from your life now as well as in the future. But do you need to do them more because you're getting more money? And that's the really important thing to think about, because then you start to put the extra money that you're earning from your salary, from your pay increases, pay rises, you're taking that money and you're putting it then towards your financial future, which means you can still live the life that you've been living now and you're building even more money towards that future. It's completely fair enough if, say, you're maybe living in a house share at the moment and you want to move out and get a place of your own, rented or mortgage, whatever your situation is. That's completely fair enough, and that would be, I'd say that's probably not an example of lifestyle creep, but you should be looking towards somewhere that's comfortably within your within your financial system that you can afford it, rather than stretching all of that extra money you've got into just that one thing. So just have a think about, and as you work through your career and you get more money, every time you get paid more, just think about where is this extra money best spent, and how can it have the biggest impact on me in total on my life and my financial system. And the last tip is pay yourself first. And this actually helps negates what I mentioned with the previous point about lifestyle creep. If you're paying yourself first, what that means is you're sorting your money out at the start of the month to go into your savings, go into your investments, wherever you've decided that your money is best placed going towards. That's where your money goes to at the start of the month, rather than waiting until the end of the month and seeing what you've got left and putting it into, putting whatever you've got left into a savings account or into investments. That's how lifestyle creep can have such a big impact on your finances, because you're not in control of that middle section of the month and how you spend money. So instead you start thinking about, I've got £100 extra left than I thought I was going to have at this stage. I'm going to go out and do this. Whereas actually, if you put boundaries around your money at the start of the month, you give yourself an allocation from your salary about how much you're going to spend that month, hopefully from using something like a budget spreadsheet that just allows you to control where your spending goes. You give yourself an allocation, you've put money towards your savings or your investments at the start of the month, you've got all your bills paid. Now you're starting to see the benefits of an up and running financial system that starts to take care of itself. You can automate all of those things. So once you've just got them set up once, they'll just happen for you at the start of the month, every month. I was really bad with this. I will hold my hands up and say that I used to think about making sure I had enough money left in my account at the end of the month to then be able to put it towards savings, rather than thinking I'm going to commit to saving this money at the start of the month because then I know it's done, and then I'm going to spend within my means for whatever's left in my account. So definitely consider setting up a system and setting up some automated payments that allow you to pay yourself first before your money starts going on some of the leisure activity and things that you might want to do throughout the month. So there you have it. Those are my 8 tips that I wish I'd known about money when I was in my 20s. Not all of them are physical actions that you can take in terms of like put your money here rather than put it there. There's some in there about just the way you think about money and the way that you manage money. But if I were to bring all of those things together, my 20s would have been a much smoother time period for me and my finances, and would have set me up even better now as I'm in my 30s and going through and thinking about some of the biggest financial decisions that I'll probably ever make in my life. I would have had a better base behind me than I did have going through those decisions. Hopefully those tips have been really useful for you, and there's a few in there that you're going to be able to apply to your life. And as I said at the start, and if you're still watching to this point and you're not in your 20s, you're in your 30s, you're in your 40s, there's still lots of tips in there that are relevant for your situation as well, and hopefully being able to improve your finances. If you want more finance tips and you want to learn more about how to grow your money, then do make sure you check out some of my other videos. But other than that, all that's left for me to say is thank you very much for watching the video today, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.